Hello, my name is Nicholas Wilson. I am a medical doctor. Today, I'd like you to reflect on what easily persuades you. Living in a society without placing trust in a system beyond our control poses significant challenges. Constantly verifying the reliability of what we use, consume, and rely on for our lives would be overwhelming, considering that much of it is created by others. However, our world is replete with questionable aspects. Interestingly, while we readily accept certain things, there are others we outright reject. Why this dichotomy exists remains a puzzle. Moreover, this discernment isn't universal among humanity. People believe in things that might leave you wondering how they find that belief. Today, I encourage you to contemplate what you readily believe and what prompts skepticism. Number 1. Are you easily persuaded by scientific explanations? Number 2. Do spiritual explanations resonate with you? Number 3. Are you susceptible to persuasion by authority? Number 4. Do you unquestioningly accept your own experiences? Number 5. Are you swayed by people's narratives? This is likely linked to the experiences and knowledge you've accumulated throughout your life. I've woven these elements throughout this piece. The archival photographs tell stories, experiments and reports emit a scientific vibe, light embodies a supernatural quality, your educational background, attire, and facial features are tied to your authority, and various components align with your personal experiences and knowledge. By the way, what image are you currently viewing? It's highly detailed, lacking the brush strokes of a painting, and gives the impression of gazing at the so-called reality we encounter daily. What is it exactly? Is it a photograph? If it is, does it represent reality? Yes, a photograph can be altered through image processing and darkroom techniques, but fundamentally, a photograph is a direct reflection of reality, regardless of the extent of manipulation. Don't we snap pictures daily, akin to jotting down notes? This stems from our belief that a photograph faithfully captures things as they are. Lately, there are apps that automatically enhance your facial features in photos, and computational photography is advancing in a manner that challenges the convictions of those who perceive photos as reality. As long as it enhances your appearance, you'll embrace it, or you might not even give it much thought. In fact, people are accepting it as reality. Perhaps one day, the phrase, "I'm not photogenic," will become obsolete. Furthermore, the title of a photographer may shift from those who capture images to those who develop the software for doing so. Now, this is quite a lengthy tale, but I'm discussing this because nearly all the images you're browsing through in this book aren't photographs. They are generated. The image produced isn't a photograph of anything from our world. Technically speaking, it probably comprises elements resembling things from our world, like a patchwork. However, unlike a photograph, none of the objects within it exist in reality. We're all aware that these generated images are not reality. Yet, when a generated image masquerades as a photograph, we find it hard to break free from the trap of the concept of photography and perceive it as reality. The enchantment of photography allows the unreal to manifest as reality in people's minds through generative technology. I think that the sense of reality, is what compels people to believe in something. So, let's revisit the 5 elements I mentioned earlier: scientific, spiritual, authority, experience, and narrative. In essence, these are magical elements that convince you something is real, much like photographs. How many people, born and raised in Japan, have never experienced a pressure point massage? I believe the number is exceedingly close to 0 after a certain age. Some individuals understand the principle, while others do not. Similarly, some have experienced its effects, and some have not. What sets them apart? Pressure point massage is a genuinely effective treatment acknowledged by the WHO. However, one's belief in it influences its effectiveness. This phenomenon is known as the placebo effect, a scientifically validated phenomenon that affects both the mind and body. For those unfamiliar, a simple explanation is that during clinical trials for new drugs, participants are informed about the drug's effects. Real drugs and placebo drugs are then administered to different groups. Surprisingly, the group that continued with the placebo showed medical and physiological improvements. Why does this occur? It encompasses factors such as where, by whom, and what kind of explanations were provided, the physical attributes of the medication, its taste, and the overall experience. Essentially, the stronger your belief in the drug's authenticity, the more pronounced your body's corresponding reaction. If you seek a more in-depth understanding, I encourage you to search this topic. Some individuals, cognizant of the placebo effect, may think its effects are small. However, I'd like to present a notable case. This example is sourced from the book, The Placebo Response: How You Can Activate the Body's Inner Pharmacy for Improved Health, by physician and ethicist Howard Brody.
In a case from the 1950s, a certain physician had a patient known as Mr. Wright, who was suffering from cancer of the lymph system and had developed large tumors throughout the body that were easily palpable by the doctor. At that time, a group of physicians were studying a new chemical formula called Kribiosan, which was being widely hailed by the media as a miracle cure for cancer, although the medical establishment was less convinced. Wright's cancer was so far advanced that this group of physicians initially thought to exclude him from the research study. However, they gave him the drug on compassionate grounds, as an exception, and not because they expected any treatment response. Miraculously, it seemed, Mr. Wright gained weight, looked and felt better, and his tumors shrank so much that they were barely detectable. Wright continued to improve, until local newspapers began reporting Kribiosan was not actually the great advance as had first been thought. After reading this negative coverage, Mr. Wright became discouraged, immediately began to lose weight, and his tumors started growing again. On the assumption that the power of suggestion had been largely responsible for Mr. Wright's response to the medication, the physicians decided to tell him that the first batches of Kribiosan sent to their clinic had not been at full potency. They assured him that the lab had corrected the problem and a new, stronger batch of the drug would soon be available. They continued to encourage Mr. Wright's hopes, finally announcing that the big day had arrived. The new batch of the drug had arrived. They proceeded to give Mr. Wright injections as before, actually using sterile water. Despite this, Mr. Wright showed the same dramatic improvements that had occurred with the first course of Kribiosan. His remission lasted until, for a second time, the newspapers undermined the physicians, stating unequivocally that the American Medical Association reports that Kribiosan is worthless against cancer. Mr. Wright once again began to decline, his tumors grew massively, and he died shortly thereafter.
Some might believe that he didn't require a doctor because it seemed like he could conquer cancer on his own. However, that's certainly not the case. For instance, even if faith could accelerate the healing of a broken bone, ensuring a proper and damage-free healing process would be challenging without the assistance of doctors. In this regard, belief does have a certain effect on the mind and body, yet it's not a universal remedy, it merely amplifies one's inherent capabilities. Presently, the most effective medical approach is to seek medical attention at a hospital when feeling unwell, establish a relationship of trust with a dependable doctor, receive medical care grounded in that trust, and genuinely believe in one's recovery. If Mr. Wright hadn't been informed about the new drug by the hospital doctors and received the injection, his tumor would never have diminished, despite his hopeful desire for his cancer to be cured. The act of belief is truly intriguing. In the present era, if you easily accept everything, you run the risk of being misled by fake news, deceived by deceptive groups, and losing everything before you realize it. Vigilance is crucial. However, due to this, there's an unconscious yearning for something to believe in. When a charismatic individual emerges, you might swiftly trust their words or actions. Our society has imparted many lessons about the negative aspects of belief, so this time, I've chosen to emphasize the positive aspects of belief. I encourage you to think about the fact that we could prepare the steps to believe in something. It's not only religion, it could be things like superfoods, routines, spells, charms, or people, real or virtual. For you, a presence that you can continue to believe in without doubt will give you peace of mind and become a training wheel that will help you unleash your true potential. Nonetheless, it's essential to calmly question whether it's detrimental to you or your family. Excessive enthusiasm can be detrimental for yourself too. So, eating too many bananas also isn't good for your body. It can increase triglycerides and can also be a cause of urinary stones. Alright? Have a nice day.